Hey, welcome listeners and viewers. My name is Kurt Von Annen. I'm here with Toby Crines, and you are at another episode of Whose WordPress Agency Is This Anyway? And Toby, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Kurt. I got a story for you.
I'm all up for stories.
I went to a no-code meetup in Minneapolis.
I was going to ask you why. I saw the notes and I was like, I should ask him why, so I'll just wait to the show. What possessed you to go to a no-code meetup in Minneapolis?
Well, turns out there's this thing called AI, and a lot of people are talking about it, and no-code is like the extreme of AI. It's like people who have no business coding are coding, and so I was like, I don't really understand it, but I'm going to go check it out, and I've dabbled in it, but like, it was really something, Kurt, because there were about 15 people there, and almost all of them have real businesses. Some of them one guy had like 10 employees. He has no idea how the code is written. Like, he has 10 employees. None of them know what the code is. And I'm just like, and he was up front in the meeting. He's like, if something happens, I have no way to get this back. Like, there's no backups. Like he doesn't know what he's doing. He's got 10 employees and customers paying him. I was just like, this is awesome.
How many times have you seen this in your agency walk of life, though, where you're doing the work, you're putting in the homework, you are pushing the wheelbarrow, man. You are doing what it takes to grow your agency in a way that you think is, equitable and ethical and all those things. And then you run into people that are growing businesses with customers and revenue, and they're like, well, my MRR is, and they're talking all this, entrepreneur speak, and they outwardly appear to be doing very well and have no clue what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's freakish. It's absolutely freakish, and it happens a lot.
Yeah, and maybe the analogy, I don't think it's a one-to-one analogy, but like, we probably both know people who have started WordPress agencies who have no idea how to design, no idea what good design, bad design, good code, they don't code maybe, but I know a guy in town who probably hasn't learned how to design or code, but he's still running a pretty big agency.
I told people for the longest time, and I used to even say it on the other show that I'm on with Jonathan Denwood, I would say I'm more of an implementer, not a designer, but I added designers to my team to make up for my deficiency. And what I didn't realize that I was doing when I said that was I was automatically giving myself the back seat and telling people I didn't know what the heck I was doing. When in reality, I did. I just don't prefer to be the one trying to invent design. You know what I mean? Like if someone shows me a website and it's got a really bad representation for white space or glaring color that should not be on a page, or we talked about accessibility last week, right? So maybe I'll see something, well, that's not accessible. There's not enough variance in the color from the background to the text. And so when I have those conversations, I realize, I am a designer. I just choose not to soak up my time in that space. That is completely different than, I don't know what the heck I'm doing at all, but I run the company and I try to make $1 gazillion at this thing, because sooner or later, the cat's out of the bag. People recognize you don't know what you're doing, and they've given you their money. So now, and especially in the world of Stripe, I don't know if you've ever had anyone say, I want my money back with Stripe or one of these tools that
sure.
There's not a whole lot of flexibility in the argument, right? Like, you wake up one day and the money's gone and you go, hey, Mr. Stripe, what happened to my money? And then, well, the customer said they weren't happy. Well, let me show you why they should be happy. And then you got to spend 8 hours documenting every conversation you ever had with the customer to justify that you are correct in hopes of getting some of your money back. So I'm really curious as to where these people are going to go that don't know what the heck they're doing.
Well, I think, to me, it's a different mindset to be like, they have no, for me, I always feel a lot of accountability for what I produce. And part of it's probably the WordPress ethos, like we're backwards compatible. You're going to have a community supporting you, whether it's me or someone else. These people don't have any sense of that. They're just like, I'm out there for the money. And frankly, some of them were nonprofits that were doing real work in the community and had investors and, had people, and you go and they're doing great work, great things, but you go I don't know. It was foreign to me because they took no responsibility, like future facing responsibility.
No, no. Like their lifetime deal isn't for the lifetime of the client. Their lifetime deal is like for as long as I feel like doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I wonder too, like that comment actually like sparked something in me where I'm like, we've seen a lot of lifetime deals since you and I have been in WordPress. Lifetime deals just disappear from the, you bought it and now it's gone. Now you're paying monthly all of a sudden.
Yeah. Poof.
And so it's not, I don't want to like say it's like something weird that's happening that hasn't, but I don't know if it's ethics. What is it that I'm, like.
This is so akin to you and I are like in the same space, but different ballparks, right? I was reading a TLDR, email link this morning, and it was about somebody in the SaaS space that considers themselves a developer. So they consider themselves a developer, boom. And they realized they needed to rework their entire platform, and they've been getting real interested in AI and things. So they jumped into, Claude and Cursor and all these things. And they started rebuilding this project on a different platform. So they had a project that worked well, but was getting dated. And they wanted to update that platform on something completely new. They wanted to update that platform on something completely new. My computer just glitched. So if I'm gone,
You're there.
I'm here. Yeah. Good. So he starts rebuilding this thing, but using all AI. And he puts in the article, I was flying. Everything was coming together. Yeah. Things were working, And then there was a little problem here. And he went to fix it, and it fixed it. But then another problem over here. And then he starts playing whack-a-mole in this thing.
Uh-huh.
And then by his own account, he says, I had to make the recognition that I am a developer. I am a coder. So I had to start looking at things that I had just greenlit, through this process. And he said, that's when the nightmare started. He was like, there were folders inside certain packets that had like not the identical name, but a similar name, and they did the same functions. He said that AI had built for him this thing, but he compared it to like, maybe he's the lead coder on the project, and he's got 8 to 10 junior coders underneath him. And he said it was like you locked all the coders in soundproof rooms by themselves instead of like in a cubicle farm where they could talk to each other. He said nothing related to the other thing. And even though it forcibly performed a function, it didn't do it effectively. And he had a lot of like just like code burden, like there was just junk everywhere. And he said, so he goes, I didn't just trash it, but I'm reworking it now from the perspective of it's not about saving time. It's about doing it right. And it's about having a quality product and something that your customers will enjoy downstream. Because if you have AI build all that stuff, and this is where I'm just in my head, because we talked about this very slightly an episode or two ago about AI and this thing with customers thinking I'll just have AI make me a plugin. Who updates that? Who comes along and says, let me fix that for you? Or because people think it's easy. Like now, in the day of like, this is WordPress 6.8. Great. You're in WordPress 6.8. You've made a plugin. Boom. WordPress 9.0 rolls out in 2027. And all of a sudden your website gives you a big white screen, says critical error. What are you going to do? Just turn off your custom cool plugin or try and hire a guy like me to fix it? Because I don't want to fix it.
Right. Well, yeah. And I think there's another piece that it's like just some kind of like cowboy mentality, if that makes sense. Like, so there's a guy at that meetup that was claimed to have been doing $1 million in recurring revenue on a platform he built with no code. He has no idea what server it's on, but he's making $1 million a month, he says. Maybe he is. But like, I'm like, does this seem weird to anybody? Like, are any alarm bells going off?
No, I don't think there are alarm bells going off in some of these circles. And that's kind of where I get, when AI was first rolling out the way that we think of it now a couple of years ago, and I was on different shows and stuff, I wasn't like a say no to AI person. I was like, be curious, like be AI curious, go figure things out, go use it, play with it. I recently signed up for a Magi account that combines a ton of different AI tools together, and I get to pick and choose what I want to play with. But I'm using very specific words. Like I play with, I learn about. I don't go like blindly into something and say, build me something amazing, and then put it up for sale for $100 a month.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, so I got curious. Over the weekend, I built an app. I have a WordPress plugin right now that is a music library of stuff. I was like, I'm gonna try to rebuild this as a headless WordPress thing. And I'm like 7 hours in and it's partially functional. It was not easy to get it to this point. And it made me think, I bet you I would be much further along if I had just said, forget WordPress, just build me an app on whatever technology you want, add Stripe to it, like partition it, multi-tenant, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? Maybe I would have a fully functioning app. It was the tying back to WordPress that was slowing me down. And by the way, AI was not very helpful with getting that connection going. So I had a window open with ChatGPT and then the window open with Vercel. And so I would like go to ChatGPT. I'm like, Vercel said this. What do you think's going on with my WordPress site? And I asked, because Vercel doesn't know WordPress, I guess. I was asking it stuff and it's like, no, I don't know WordPress. Like,
that is a bummer.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where I'm at with no code. It was fun. But yeah, the question would be like, should I just build the app with Vercel and then port my data, use Vercel to create an import function?
Well, but that takes us to another one of your big questions in our notes. And that is, you had asked about our live WordPress meetups dead.
Yeah.
And then I start to think about live WordPress meetups. My last few live WordPress meetups, I run the one here in Hutchinson, Kansas. So ours just started. So, I know you made a note about one just dying, and it's like, oh, I see them coming and going. But I started the one in Hutchinson just over a year ago. And the last couple of meetups that we had, very, very light on attendance. But I'm thinking back to the people that came. And so like 6 months ago, a girl from high school came and she's like, I'm not really into this WordPress thing. I like to code. And I was like, you code what? I don't know. We just do coding. Like, okay, you're out. I can't talk to you. And then my last couple of meetups, I've had people on this topic of AI. Mm-hmm. Oh, I just want the computer to do this. I want the computer to do that. How's WordPress going to help me to do that with AI? And I'm like, why is AI your linchpin? Why do you think AI is the solution for you, considering you don't have an online business yet? Like, AI is not going to run your food truck for you. Right. You're still going to have to cook the sandwiches. So the impression, the branding, the media is pushing AI in this weird way that people outside the industry are coming in with these very strange notions about what they're going to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And so what are your thoughts on the live WordPress meetups? And then based on the experience I've just had, do you think they're going to morph and change into more of these generalist conversations? Or do you think we're going to end up playing gatekeeper and telling people that WordPress is WordPress and you should leave some stuff alone?
Yeah, I've been wondering that. I think, so when I went to this meetup for the no code, one thing stood out to me. There's an energy in it that doesn't exist in the WordPress meetup. Yeah. In the sense like, this is new and interesting, and let's see what crazy things we can build today. Why don't we do a meetup next week where we all build something awesome and launch it, And that's the energy we had at WordPress meetups 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. That's back when you said, "Hey, let's build a website for a food truck." Everybody went, "That would be amazing."
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And now you're like, "Hey, let's build a website for a food truck." And they're like, "Yeah, there's lots of food trucks."
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if someone was like, let's talk about Microsoft Windows. It has that why would we talk about Microsoft Windows? Everybody uses it. Like,
have you all seen Vista? Right.
So we do have a WordPress Wednesday meetup that's been going for 15 years now, and we meet up for co-working. There's no agenda. We go to lunch sometime. But yeah, I've been wondering if the WordPress meetups are just kind of dead, at least the local ones. I did go to WordCamp last year and I spoke at it in Minneapolis. It's hard to say. It's hard. I'm kind of I was only there for a short while, so I didn't get the full do you go to any WordCamps or other meetups or?
I will tell you, the one in Phoenix is like off the chain, right? But then you have to get back to, you got to put your head back in the space of reality, right? GoDaddy lives there, right? And they had all those people. I know they had their big layoffs and all that stuff after the last one I went to. So maybe the energy and the vibe is going to be different. But, GoDaddy's there. All those people come and show up. What freaked me out about going to the meetup in Phoenix was there was a ton of people that were like, oh, I just have a WordPress website of my own and I wanted to see what this was about. And I was like, that is bizarre, because I didn't think that's who was coming. But I ran into a bunch of site owners that were not WordPress people. They were site owners. And I just really felt the vibe in Phoenix was like tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there's these, and that's not, I shouldn't say that's a meetup, right? That's a word camp, the Phoenix Word Camp. The meetups, when I started doing them on the West Coast, because I moved to Kansas recently, but when I was in California, they're in person, they were not exciting. Even the one I went to that had 5 or 6 people show up, it wasn't exciting. But then they had a virtual one. And so if they didn't do live, they would do virtual. And then the attendance would be 3 times as many people. But then I start to recognize some names from some other meetups that I went to virtually. And so like there's a guy that lives in Idaho that is in the San Francisco meetup, the San Diego meetup, the Inland Empire meetup. He's obviously attending meetups every day. But there's a ton of people like that go to a bunch of virtual WordPress meetups, and it gives them this false energy like it's that region, but it's not. It's like all these same 10 people that know each other that jump on all these calls. But what I really, really loved about that particular setup, that was the Inland Empire one run by Various, I think is his name. And people would come in with website. They owned a website. And that meetup would not stop until they solved whatever that person's problem was. It was cool. Someone would come in like, oh, I can't get this form to work. Oh, well, what form tool are you using? And then 10 people, in the space start, brainstorming this thing, and they would just fix it. Or my website has a critical error. Well, what's your host? Sign in, share a screen, let's get to work. And that part was really cool. Like that was the vibe you were talking about. Like, let's build something.
Yeah.
Like, let's build something, let's fix something. And it was really cool watching some seasoned old dudes fix some stuff. But I personally think that these in-person meetups should be more geared towards almost like recruiting younger people to the space we're in. And I kind of struggle with that, finding these younger brains, younger minds.
It's tough though, because like even in the WordPress space, like seasoned WordPress developers are like, I'm going to try, was it Flow or whatever the thing? Webflow. I'm going to try, like there's not a loyalty that there used to be, like
Well, at the end of the day, and I don't mean to sound like such a callous jerk, but WordPress is a tool. Like for agencies and builders, it's a tool. Like, so what tool are you going to use? Like some people use Makita, some people run down to Harbor Freight, some people run down to Home Depot and buy the blue thing or whatever. You know what? Sometimes, like you just said, maybe it would be faster if you didn't use WordPress. You just use some other platform and built out your idea, right? I will tell you, I got curious. I loaded up Drupal to see how much it's changed in the last few years. I couldn't wait to get out of that screen. I was like, I'm running back to WordPress. I don't like this at all. Because I had done Drupal before. I had done Joomla. I did one called, it was a Camelback, Live Sites by Camelback or something.
All right.
And it did what I needed it to do at the time. But, I take a look at these things now, these kind of sassy kind of platforms. And it's like, nope. It's not hitting the mark. It's not giving me the freedom to build what I want to build. And so I end up back in the WordPress space.
Moving on, new this week, I'm paying a bunch of money for a LinkedIn marketing campaign.
I'll ask again. You got me. The bait is out. I'll take a nip at this hook. Why? Why are you spending a bunch of money on LinkedIn marketing?
So, well, I run an agency. We have 2 full-timers now and 5 or 6 contractors. And I'm not looking to go hockey stick, but if I can like have a slight bump, I see it. If I get 1 or 2 new customers a year, I notice it. And so I'm always trying to close more deals. Like my job is basically sales. And most of our leads come from SEO these days. We get some referral, but so I'm always like listening for opportunities. And there's a guy in town here who pitched me. He built an app, probably with no code, because he is a partner at the No Code Meetup. But he bought an app. No, he didn't buy an app. He built an app. He had a vision for what the app should do, and I think he built it. And the way he pitched it is this. He goes, and this resonated with me, by the way, because like, I mean, how many times have you been pitched social media marketing, and you're just like, ugh. Well, this is how I respond. I don't know about you. Like, no, thank you. You know, like that's my gut reaction is like, no, thank you. And the reason it's no, thank you is because like the metric for success for social media people is, what's the word? It's not impressions. It's something worse than impressions. Like,
The conversions?
no. Way worse than conversion. There's like conversions, then impressions, and then like something less than views, interactions or something. But anyway, I'm always like, first of all, it's like just to climb the social media ladder, you have to define what is an interaction? What am I paying for? So this guy pitches me this LinkedIn thing. And the gist of it is this. He's like, look, our goal is going to be to get you phone calls with qualified leads. That's kind of the gist. Like, so we're going to start with the end in mind. And all it is he built a tool that kind of makes this quicker, but it's all stuff you could do with the click of the mouse. But he basically, let's say I have 2,000 friends on LinkedIn. He's like, we're going to try to get you up to 3,000, then 4,000, and we're going to start where you live, and we're going to grow. And you're going to annoy the heck out of some people because you're going to be like, what the software does is it like, once they say, yeah, let's connect, it starts sending them my program of like a series of stuff. And the goal is to get a phone call at some point for a sales call. But the idea is once you build the network, then you start doing webinars on LinkedIn Live. And so let's say now I have 5,000 people. The invitations on LinkedIn come in a different way. It's not like you're getting spammed an email. It's just kind of, however it is, it's different. At least that's what I'm told. And the gist of it is I'm going to do the same webinar every week for the next 172 weeks. And maybe he's like, look, I've done it. It works. You're going to get 5 people at every webinar. There's going to be like one person that attends 6 in a row, and then that person will call you. And like, so that's the whole thing. There's nothing tricky about it, but that's it. And the goal is to sell, if I can sell 1 more a month on average, like, yeah, exactly. But to me, it made sense. Like I go, compared to everything else I'm being pitched, I go, seems okay.
It makes sense. I used a very similar tool. I was at like 1,800 connections on LinkedIn. And to me, a connection, it means I should be connected. Like I tend to overdo everything, right? So I'm like, let's get down to basics. So my goal is I want to have an icebreaker conversation with everybody I'm connected to. Like that's my goal. It's not realistic, but it's my goal. And so I went through my account, and people that I had connected with that I never talked to, never interacted with, never shared a message with, I just disconnected. And you know what? They never missed me anyway, right? So then I drove it down to like 1,100 connections or something. And then I used a tool that would be like search people out by basic search criteria. In that search criteria, view their profile, like 1 or 2 of their posts, send them a connection request, send them a message. To me, the key to the messaging in LinkedIn is to use it like text messaging, very brief, very easy, and non-salesy. I don't send them any appointment links or anything like that up front. I just say, hey, it's great to connect. If you're up for an icebreaker call, let me know. Boom, like that's it. And then amazingly, a lot of people are curious because then they're like, this guy didn't pitch me a dang thing. What is this about? And I tell them, I just like to get to know everybody I'm connected to. If it goes somewhere, great. If it doesn't go anywhere, that's fine too. If it turns out you have 5 friends I should be talking to instead of you, just put me in touch with those 5 friends. And that works. And so I will tell you, I got up to 10,000 connections pretty quick. And that turned into a nightmare, Toby. So I turned everything off for a long time. And then I had to kind of let the spam wave die down because my inbox was full of spam from LinkedIn. So I had to kind of let that die down a little bit. And then I just kind of slowly re-engaged at a much more organic pace.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of slowing down, was part of it that like you were feeling like your belly was full of enough work? Is that kind of like...
Well, yeah, I wasn't looking to have a second job. all these people, and then the pitches, the 3, 4, 5 paragraphs from strangers,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, delete, delete,
Yeah.
delete, delete, delete. And then I'm thinking to myself, I probably reached out to these people to make a connection. They think I'm a sucker on the line. So they're sending me all of this content, and I don't want all this content. I just want to know if you're a human being I want to chat with or not. And apparently you're not, because all you want to do is sell me something in my DM. So I don't want to be a
Right.
part of your business anyway.
But this is, I think, maybe there's something here that we could dive into a little deeper, because what we're describing is a sales or a marketing process.
Yeah.
And every marketing process is going to have problems that you have to resolve, whether it's social media, like your goal is to get qualified leads, even if it's SEO, whatever, like although in a case like this, we know we're going to get way more spam than not spam
Yeah.
with LinkedIn or social media or whatever, and many other things. My dad got a death threat once because he did a robocall. He did a robocall to like 10,000 people. He's like, start getting death threats in return.
I'll kill you.
Yeah, exactly. I will come there. I will chop off your legs. Then I will come after your children. But I think like the goal isn't to like have the most efficient. This is my opinion. Like with a process like this. Like let's say I figure out that it's generating leads. Then I have to figure out, okay, I can't be in my inbox all day, so I might need to hire someone to like go through my inbox then, and it becomes more of like that's just part of my business process.
Yeah. That's virtual assistant days right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Go through these and try and earmark which ones have the earmarks of success and ones that have the earmarks of doom, and then try to filter through them. I had so much fun building my LinkedIn up to the 10,000 connections. I actually made a LinkedIn course. It's on my website. I encourage people to check it out. But it was my experience, and I thought, well, if I can go from 2,000 to 10,000 connections on LinkedIn, I can show other people how to do it. But it's interesting because now you can go to 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. That's a pretty cool thing of that platform. But I had to really sit back and go, do I want 30,000 connections on LinkedIn? The way that I grew my account, this sounds crazy, but I mean, I have literally spoken to probably 6,500 or 7,000 of the 10,000 connections.
Wow.
And so it's weird. Like if someone comes to me and says, hey, so-and-so's on your list, do you think that's someone you could introduce me to? Chances are I've already spoken to them and I know if they're a good connection for you or not.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I think I told you before, I have this remarkable tablet, but I take every meeting I have, I take notes. And so if I met with that person, their name's in there. So even if it's like, I don't remember their name, but if you say, oh, did you talk to Mark Smith? I can go, Mark Smith, boom. And say, yep, talk to him November 2023. These were the things we discussed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Along those lines, so I want to just kind of, you mentioned you did it, you saw an opportunity to teach a class, you probably did the work and you're like, I might as well create a class out of this.
Yeah, it was successful.
And then that leads me to another question, similar to the marketing process. I'm curious about another marketing process, which is getting speaking gigs.
Yeah.
Preferably in person, in town. But you mentioned a class. Have you pursued, you could do like LinkedIn now has classes, LinkedIn Learning. And apparently a friend told me like, yeah, you can like sign up and teach a class at LinkedIn Learning. And I was like, what? There's Minneapolis has community ed, and then, or you can like just spin your own. LinkedIn does live streaming, like I'm going to be doing YouTube. Have you seen anyone do this, or have you done any of this stuff? Or let me ask the question differently. Do you ever speak in town?
Yes.
How do you get those gigs?
So let's go one step further. I wanted to be a speaker before I wanted to be a WordPress agency owner. So I paid the money, I made the investment, I became a John Maxwell certified leadership coach and trainer and all those things. So I got the little piece of paper that hangs on the wall somewhere. And I really enjoy it. The thing that I found, though, is that paid speaking gigs, the ones that make mortgage payments and car payments and things, they're not as easy to come by as people think they are. You got to be really good looking or really funny or really popular from some other source, I think. So, and I also have this weird thing where I really like to pay it forward with younger audiences. And so I really like the young, like the early 20s groups. I like the vibe. So I speak at the community college, the high school here in town. I have a big background in automotive and motorcycles and marine. So I talk at the STEM and CTE programs at the high school and college. And then I also volunteer with the college age group at church just because I like to pay it forward that way. But then you'll hear there's a pretty consistent theme in all of that. And that is that none of those things really put money in my bank account, you know? And so then I've had I spoke for Marine Max. And this is a weird one. Marine Max is like the biggest boat retailer in the country. And they said, hey, we're going to be at the show in Las Vegas and we'd like to hire you as a speaker. And then I said, well, okay, I charge this much for a daily rate plus travel. And they said, sold, right? Which is the sure sign that that number's way too low. In the Harley Davidson space, I know of one guy, he charges $10,000 a day plus travel, and he gets 2 suites on the top floor of every hotel he stays in, one for him and one for his wife. And they continue to hire him to do that. And I think to myself, he can't be that good at it. When I worked for another company in the power sports world, you guys could look at my LinkedIn to figure out who this might be. Here I was, a certified speaker on staff in leadership, and they hired some lady and paid her 10 grand for the afternoon to come in and talk to us about leadership. And I was like, hello, you pay me a salary. I work here. I could run this workshop. But these big companies, they want to bring in a strange face. They want to pass the liability off. They don't want someone internal to do things. And so that was hard for me to come to grips with. So then I had to come down to, well, then how do I market myself? I put myself down as a speaker on my personal website. I joined a thing called Gig Salad, which helps you find speaking gigs. But I think, Toby, people are going to tell me my answer is wrong, but I think you still need, like a Gary Vaynerchuk would say, you need to put your best stuff out first free and get a couple of samples and get a couple of recordings, couple of live action photos from an event, and then you got something to market.
You didn't mention write a book.
Oh, I did write books, but so I wrote a book on leadership, ta-da, and I wrote a book on how to run a better service department in the automotive and power sports space. That book is what changed the total direction of the success I had in the space. But I didn't go to college. So like some people could say, well, I graduated from Yale or I graduated from Harvard and I did this and I did that. Well, I don't have that to say. So now I say, well, after I published that book in the automotive space, then people go, oh, he published a book. Right. He's so smart. And then 2 things. And these are like secrets I tell people all the time. It's not a secret. As soon as you publish a book, people stop asking where you went to school. The other thing is, as soon as you start your own agency or start your own business, nobody cares about where you went to school or how you got trained. All they care about is what services can you provide? Will it be done on time and how much will it cost? Nobody, after I started Mañana No Mas, nobody has ever asked me, how did you train yourself to do all this? Like, It doesn't matter. This is what I do. It's how long it's going to take. It's how much it's going to cost you. And no one's asked me about backing that up since. So maybe that's why those no-code SaaS guys get ahead, because I go,
yeah,
you got a pain point. I got a solution. It's going to cost you this much.
It's an interesting thought. It is particularly if you're new to coding, because there's a lot of fear right now that you're not going to have a job coding. Your job might be knowing the AI marketplace. Like we use Vercel for this. They put the database here and did it.
I think there's going to be a big future for experienced people in debugging coding.
Yeah. Well, so I think earlier you're like, who's going to do the work? Whoever has the skills and is willing, or maybe, AI is so bad at that thing you talked about earlier. Like, yeah, now we have 3 folders. They all do the same thing. Like that's what AI does for you. Like in addition to making a fully functioning app, it just builds all this crap with it. Yeah. And to date, like I said, I just built something the other day and here's where it got caught up. It had like a mostly functioning. Finally, I got it pulling in the REST API from a headless WordPress. And then I was like, okay, add a search box. And it like went berserk, broke it. And I went through like 10 iterations trying to fix it. And finally I was like, just roll back to 10 versions ago because we're not going to do a search today.
Yeah. I'll forego that one this time. But I find that so interesting because just this week, I was in a client's website. Now, I didn't build it. I did not build it. I'm just a consultant helping them get to the launch pad. And they said, well, hey, and they're using the Elementor Hello theme, which is not my theme of choice. I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't have a lot
It's
of
the most
experience in it.
popular theme in
Yeah,
WordPress.org.
I don't, I don't have anything negative to say about it. I'm just not super familiar with it. And they said, hey, when Lifter LMS shows this course card, it has all this information on here. We don't want all this information on here. We want to take this thing out. And I was like, well, that's not really an option. There's no tick box for that, but we could get rid of that with custom CSS. And they're like, say no more, have at it. And I was like, okay. And I'm thinking probably take you 20 minutes. Dude, I'm so embarrassed. I was like, display none this. Nope. Display none
Sure.
that. Display none.
Yeah.
Try this class name. And I was trying everything that I could think of, and it wasn't working. It wasn't working. It wasn't working. And then I tried, let's try this. I think they call them variables, but I called it important,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because I kept looking at the code in the Chrome inspector and I'm going, it keeps saying, like when I say display none, it keeps crossing it out. Like I'm not doing it.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm telling you to do it. I am telling you to do this. And it took a lot more than 20 minutes. And I couldn't charge her the 20. I couldn't charge her my real time. Newsflash for people that are listening, you shouldn't charge your customers for the time that you are educating yourself. At least I don't think so. So I charge like real time, right? But now I'm going negative, right? Now I'm going negative, trying to figure this thing out. So I put in the important, and all of a sudden one thing went away, but the other thing didn't go away. But they didn't really care about the other thing. So I was like, good enough, right? Good enough. Boom. We're done here. But that's like, here we are talking about AI and no code and like I'm not a coding genius, right? I'm jumping into someone else's website, something someone else built. I got a theme I'm not familiar with. I'm trying all the tricks I do with SkyPilot and with bricks and nothing I'm putting in works. And I don't know why the theme's disregarding everything I'm saying to do. And I go, exclamation point important. And then boom, it works. How many people are going to know that?
Right.
Or how many people are going to go into AI and say, give me some custom CSS to make this disappear from my screen. And then it's going to say, put this in. Well, that's not going to work. Okay, well then put this in.
Right. Yeah.
That's not going to work.
Something funny that we were talking about, I was talking with someone about AI, even if it gives you it won't say no. And this is the problem. It'll make
hallucination. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're like, hey, can you fix this for me? It'll say, sure, do this. And you'll do that and it'll be like, it didn't work. And they'll say, oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. That's wrong. Here, do this. It's incapable of saying no. Yeah.
Well, it does say no when you ask it questions it doesn't want to answer. By the code, for code, it's always going to say, yeah, I can fix that for you.
Right.
And then it's not fixing it for you.
Right.
I've been through this so many times now with clients. And, in a way, it's kind of cool because they always got to come back to you and go, oh, I tried this on my own. It's not working. Can you fix this? And we go, yeah, we can fix that for you. But then you have to ask yourself, why didn't they just come to me in the first place? Even if they're not my client, I think that. Like, I'm on the show with you. I do a show with Lifter LMS. I do a show with WP Tonic. I have my own podcast called Mañana No Mas. Like, people know who I am. So why did you try 17 other choices before ringing me up or sending me an email asking for help? And it's because they assume I'm at like $600 an hour for an agency rate or something. Right. And it's just not true because you and I both know we can't run our agencies at those rates and think we're going to keep clients.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, if they thought it was cheap, they probably would have called you. Or if they thought it was not cheap, cheap's probably the wrong word. If they thought it was going to be a couple hundred or even 300, maybe they would have called you.
Yeah, if it was going to be affordable, if it was going to be within a budget concept. And I think in some cases, because of being online all the time, being live all the time, I think that sometimes heightens the expectation that, oh, he's going to be super expensive or we can't afford that. No, it's like everyone assumes Codable is going to be expensive, but then you go to Codable and they're like, hey, we get 3 bids. You get the average of the 3 bids. It is what it is. And it comes out to like $80 an hour to have something done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a smoking hot deal. Jump on there, get something handled.
Is Codable still hiring? Last I checked, they weren't accepting new applicants. Do you know?
I don't think they're hiring. I think they have all the people they need.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because that's a place. Yeah, you go and you say, hey, build this for me, and then they have a team of freelancers, right?
Yeah. And then it's like a blind audition. people bid on the task and they put a dollar amount in there, and then it averages the bid amount out, and then then you choose it, right? Based on, this is the set fee based out of these 3 sources, and then you pick the source and they do it for the fee that was the average.
I actually think if you're getting started in the industry, and maybe it's an avenue for me to pursue too, but like Upwork or, there's all these places where like people go to buy the work. And like, I'm just thinking out loud here. So let's say I did a project that was relatively easy on Upwork, and I got underpaid for it, but it led to a hosting contract or something. Like I could see that math working out potentially,
There's so many of those things. So there used to be one called Elance, and then Freelance, and then Upwork and Fiverr and all those. And generally, Upwork and Fiverr seem to be these markets that are just driving to the bottom, right? It's just a race to the bottom. They want a task done, and it's the cheapest one is going to get the bid. And I really don't like to play in those markets. I mean, I just don't, because it just doesn't, the mentality of the client doesn't fit the mentality of what I'm looking for as an agency. So I kind of try and stay away from that. But I've also noticed, so I had a client I was doing a big project for, and they were supposed to supply a ton of content. And I said, okay, great. So where's this content at? Because I've built it. So where's your content? And the content wasn't coming. And finally I was like, you said you had content. Where's your content? Like I was, because everything I do is based on a calendar. I tell people we have deadlines. I have a deadline, and newsflash, you have a deadline. You're the customer, but you still have a deadline. Yeah. And they were and they finally confessed, oh, I've got this person, writing the course for me that I hired from Fiverr. And when it was a series of PDFs they wanted me to put into their website as courses and lessons. I said, I can't even put this stuff on your website. In good conscience, I can't do this. I've already edited for free the first 3 lessons. I said, but this content is so poor. Yeah. Unless you're paying me, I cannot continue to edit this work, but I cannot put my name on this anywhere. Like I can't have website powered by Mañana No Mas or any of that on your project, because this content is so horrible.
It's interesting. So I'm selling our house, and I'm working with a realtor, and they had me fill out a Google form. It was like, tell us about your house and your experience in your house, and da-da-da. So I filled it out. It took like 5 or 10 minutes. And then the next day, they sent me something that was so clearly ChatGPT, like just this garbage write-up.
You're like, thank you. I don't want to use you anymore.
Well, I'm already on the hook, but I got it. I had to write it. I went back to ChatGPT. I was like, let's rewrite this. My realtor couldn't figure it out.
It's hard. It's hard. All right. So somehow or another, we managed to work AI into just about every segment of our talk today.
Like Matt Mullenweg said, what's the future of WordPress? AI.
I guess we're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
We're going to have to figure it out. Anything else?
No, thank you so much. Yeah.
So we're going to have to wrap this one up, and we're going to have to save our talk about managed WP for another day, I think.
I think you're right.
Which is like, that's the cliffhanger. That gets people to come back to another episode.
We have a whole bit. The question is managed WP dying? For next time.
Peace out. Folks, I'm Kurt. This is Toby. Have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll see you in the next episode.